If you are staring at the pieces of your life thinking, oh my gosh, where do I even start? I hear you. I've been there myself. Today, I am sharing my story in hopes that you can find some kind of hope in thinking that you're not alone. And at the end of hearing it, hopefully you'll say, I'll take what you've lived through and learn something out of it. I'm also going to give you three simple steps to take you from where you are to move forward. Bienvenidos a Café Entre Amigos. My name is Esther Flores. I am a mom, a businesswoman, and you're listening here on this messy road that we call rebuilding. This show is honest, practical, and full of grace. Here we hear stories that heal and help. The first step to taking back your life is to recognize our ups and downs, owning our faults, and honoring our gifts so we can move forward. Most episodes are going to be in English with some Spanish mixed in or sprinkled in. If this helps you, please follow the show and share it with a friend who needs hope. Now, why watch this episode? This first episode is very personal. There's no guest. It's only gonna be me sharing my story with a little bit cup of coffee, in this case, my mug, and I'll share what broke me, what I learned, and how I rebuilt my life and a business. Um, this is not about drama. Let's say it's about learning how to start over and over and not be afraid. Sometimes you have to start over not by choice, but just because life happens. The two things that must stay strong in you are always going to be determination and faith. If you don't have them, find somebody that does, because that is contagious. So let's grab a cup of coffee and let's start. This first part I would like to call is my first start over. I grew up in Lima, Peru. I was very driven. I've always been very driven. And I started university around 15 or 16 years old. My mom and one of my sisters, I think around 2004, came to the United States to visit. And I'm planning to visit as well when I was on vacation. Like, I think they call it here spring break. At the age of 18, I found myself in a new life, in a brand new country, and with brand new rules that I didn't even know how how to encounter. Um, all of this was deeply fulfilling. New freedom, new country, new rules, and this was my starting over a different life. Number one. Then started what I call my second life. I met the father of my first daughter. I fell in love with him. I fell in love with the culture, the independence, the freedom that he carried. I was young and living in the moment. I didn't have any plans whatsoever. I was just thinking about today. And when we moved in, very quickly we got married. And 3 years later, I was pregnant with my first daughter. Um, then suddenly everything was real. The responsibility, the money, the culture, clashing, the customs. We both loved family in just very different ways. A tiny little bit example I can give is he liked, just an example, he liked meat perfectly proportioned in a labeled Ziploc bag. When back home, my mom would wash and disinfect like the grocery bags. You know, you get like the ones in Walmart or Publix, and then she would froze the meat in like that. Little differences like that can become really, really big tensions if you don't really talk about them, or if you don't yet have the maturity to discuss them and meet in the middle, or say, listen, this is how I think it should go. I won't go into more details, but our marriage didn't work. We were both very young. And after 8 years, we chose to separate. In 2013 is boom, what happened, where I like to call my start over number two. Learning to be independent at the age of 25, 26 in a country that wasn't mine, where I was still navigating how to be young and independent, is where my adulthood really, really started. In this part of my life, really rock bottom for me wasn't even there. It didn't even look dramatic. We really did a good job navigating co-parenting, or making sure that our daughter didn't see our differences. But then with stress, 3 jobs, bills that I wasn't sure I could pay, sleepless nights, shoulders that were always hurting, and the kind of exhaustion that makes you cry over small little things as a single mom. That was me. And if that's you right now, I see you. Trust me, I've been there. Um, it was when we started having like the co-parenting little issues. I found an airline job, and I learned that at that job that not everyone was kind. And I truly I realized that the only enemy that I truly had at this point was me juggling all my stress. I had to take care of my daughter. I started school, 3 jobs, and dating. Uh, it was just really hard. At the same time, I realized that when my daughter wasn't with me and she was the source of my happiness, I felt lonely. When I realized that my exhaustion was taking a toll on me, is when I sat down and I realized that I had to circle an idea of all of the things that were happening at the moment and what caused the most anxiety or pain, let's say, because I started to go into like kind of depression. By July 2014, I left the airline job, and after a little bit of months, I was still in limbo. I realized that my life was not going the way that it should have been after a car accident, and I found an office job where the culture was really, really different. This would be my start over number 3. This job definitely gave me the stability to let me be present for my daughter without working 3 jobs. It was a really true relief. And it allowed me really to pick up and drop off my daughter sometimes and just to be there for her, which was a really big point. I would say my turning point would be around 2015. In this company, I met who is now my husband, Giovanni. At first, we barely even talked. We would just acknowledge each other. He was very playful and cheerful. He was the type of guy that would get along with everyone. And I was a little more direct. I had no filter. I was very unapologetic, sometimes a little sharp. And I was also, you could say, friendly and bubbly with some. But at 26, I didn't really have the tools to navigate emotions and how to deal with conflicts. I was still young, fairly new to being single and independent, and trying to do my best with the tools that I had. Most people would say, 26, you knew what you were doing. I knew, but I really didn't. So my husband is who gave me at that moment. At that moment, we started dating, some stability. He would do little things to try to get my attention. Then we became friends and eventually a couple. With them, I discovered a comfort that I didn't know that I had missed, which is my shared language and rhythm. We are not from the same country, but we both moved through life in one Spanish and with that warm family closeness that many of our communities cherish. Now, this is not about one community or culture being better than another. It's about the depth of and the ease about being understood by somebody else, which is what my husband gave me. I want to make sure that you understand that a supportive partner doesn't rescue you. They stand by you. They give you just space to grow, clap for your boundaries, and remind you of your goals when you forget because life happens. And that's what he's done for me and what he continues to do for me until this day, which is how I'm able to do this right now. He's giving me the space to do this when our house is full of kids and all of these different things going on. But anyway, we moved in together, got married in 2019, and in a new environment, this is my start over number 4. So this is like 4 times now. At the beginning is hard, showing your true self and getting to know somebody and the living conditions can be a trying time, but eventually you find your rhythm. So because we decided that we wanted to make this work, we realized that we could no longer work together and that I wasn't growing in where I was. I love the owners of the company. I loved my general manager and my manager, but I decided that it was time to move forward and leave my husband in his space and find my own. Um, So I left that company and moved to Bastos Pavers, which I would say that it would be my start over number 5, and where I learned to lead and carry a much bigger responsibility. And thanks to Andrea and Ray, who are the owners, two amazing entrepreneurs who poured all of their knowledge into me and helped me develop as an individual, who gave me trust and really gave me all the tools necessary to just be me. Till the day, I'm very thankful for them. But then COVID happened, and in that season where everything was happening, it put a lot in perspective for me and my family. So I decided to leave my position, and then I launched on my own a company called Modern Pavers. When my husband, that would be, I would say, my move number 6. I launched it first alone, and then with my husband, and then we decided to include my brother-in-law and my then sister-in-law. We ran it about 2 years, and it was going good. But then we decided to close it, and that choice truly broke my heart. We had given it our all. I had given it so much from my heart and my effort. Um, I was exhausted. I felt defeated, like probably most business owners that tried it once do when they pour everything. And sometimes, no matter what, you just have to cut your losses and let it go. And because I felt defeated, I wanted to go into the safe path again. And it took a toll on my body and my marriage and my finances, that's for sure, because we lost almost everything. And still, in that moment, there was always like a little rainbow when it was raining. Um, I would say that the start over number 7 in my life would be in this moment in time, because my colleagues began asking for my abilities, my notary work, doing different translations, permit pulling, consulting in different areas, because I have done it all, really, from doing taxes, working for an accountant, um, working in insurance, working in pavers, I have done so much that I have a lot of construction experience as well. So um, my good friend and accountant said, "This is your lane." And his name is Harvey, by the way. This is your lane. You do tailor work with solutions and consulting. You should give it a try. If it doesn't work within a year, just cut your losses and move on. And very quietly, I decided to start analyzing the income. And I decided that, yeah, I'm going to do this very quietly. And I founded what I now have as Modern Services Consulting. This start over felt like a lifeline when I was barely breathing. Yeah, my husband was still kind of sore and scared for him, for us, for me, and asked me to be careful. But either way, he stood by my side, carrying a lot in his shoulders while I was doing this. Um, and the only thing that I would say to him is, like, I really have no choice. It's either I try to make this work, or I go back to work for somebody. And that's what we did. Working for yourself is really hard. Part of the healing process as well for me as an individual, from all the things that I've been through in this life, has been learning how to evaluate situations and continue to learn about my worth, and trusting my ability to create value for what I do, for the spaces and the moments that I take, um, to turn my skills, experience, and resilience into real work. And that is important for everyone that is in the same position that I am. The ability to create value into the things that you do, to propose and to do work that is tailored, that no one can copy. Everybody can do a lot of things. Everybody can pull a lot of permits, but not a lot of people can do it the way I do it, how I do it. And that commitment is what makes my service, let's say an example, unique. And that can be with you too. So those are what my accountant calls intangible assets. they don't sit in a shelf, but they build a future. That's what he would say to me. Today, modern services consulting is my focus and my main source of income. I work with residents and contractors to move permits and projects. I manage projects for them as well, and budgets um, forward. And it feels like a purpose, especially when I can help families who don't have a voice to find it. And when it comes to also doing paperwork for them, when they don't, let's say they don't speak English and they're trying to get a translation, I am also there for them. And it's something that makes me passionate and that I'm good at, which is those two things come together. Now, what I've learned, I would say, throughout this journey are like are five things or five rules, I would say. When I'm overwhelmed, really overwhelmed, it's the one thing that I ask is what can I do right now that is going to remove like work related, that or family related. What can I do right now that is going to take away the stress? If there is nothing I can do, I take a deep breath and I stop thinking about it. Like I just remove it. Sometimes it comes back in there and I just try to keep myself occupied. If there's nothing I can do, then I just remove it but I always have it like in a notebook where I go through the things that I have to do, because constantly overthinking and thinking about the things that have no solution at the moment will not do anything for me. The only thing that will do for most people that were or are my situation when it's financial related is getting money. And what your brain can do, instead of thinking, I need to pay this, I need to pay this, I need to pay this, is how can I create money? How can I do how? And that's how your brain will develop those ways. The second way, or the second truth that I would say is write in a piece of paper or notebook, like I do, your non-negotiables. Non-negotiables. What that means is what you will and you will not do in a job, in a relationship, and with friends. When you put your boundaries very, very clear and you respect them and respect yourself with those boundaries, trust me, people respect you. People respect that. People respect your truth. And they will lead from then. Another thing that I would say that is the truth is that I learned how to ask for help. When that car accident happened, it was really from exhaustion. And I think that relying and asking for help to friends, church, mentors, and and health professionals is what pulled me through whatever thing I was stuck on. And sometimes it takes a lot for somebody to ask for help, but once you get good at it, it's just the first step. Once you get good at it, it kind of just flows through you. Um, Another thing that I would say is money, tracking expenses weekly, not even monthly. I do it weekly. A lot of people think I don't think about money. I do, but I just write it down and then take it out of my head until I have the money. And then I move one by one and one by one, and I focus on one until I'm done with that one. Um, and the final one I would say is that healing your soul, your mind, changing your mentality is not an easy process. Is it's to think that you don't necessarily have to start from zero. You're just continuing. And the best part I think it would be, or not the best part, I think it would be, if you're looking for a partner or you have a partner, make sure that it's a partner that supports you, that stands with you and saying, okay, I can do this while you do this. If it doesn't work, what is our backup plan? What are we going to do? Because that makes a real big change in how you see things. Because it can also be heavy on your partner. So you have to, between my husband and I, we kind of sometimes juggle in that situation. And that's our life lesson, I think, while we're still on. Um, I want to leave you with maybe 3 steps that what you can do today to kind of, if you have to start over, what is it necessarily you have to do? And I would say that each chapter of your life, each change, each start over needs to have a name, like in a book, like in a chapter, like in a book, like a table of contents to say, this is your name. My name is Sister Flores. Part number one was living in Lima. Part number two, and this season, like Thanksgiving season, let's say this season you are struggling with your mental health, you're struggling with money. Name it the season where this is going to be over. This is the season I fell, but I'm starting over. This season where I'm putting an end to this toxic relationship. This season where I change my life around because I will know my worth. This season where I have 5 goals, and these 5 goals have within itself 10 little goals, and I'm going to do one by one, like if it's steps that I'm climbing to make it happen, and I'm going to stay focused. Now, in terms of those goals, my husband, I believe that I have ADHD, so my husband is really good at reminding me, hey, when I'm going a little bit off topic, to say, hey, come back here. Another thing that I would say is really important, it would be create a ritual for yourself and make it every day, whether it's with exercise, whether it's with um, whether it's with your body, working out, walking, stretches, or meditation. For me, meditation is a big thing. I have to have at least 10 to 20 minutes to have that with myself. And I meditate while I put makeup on, believe it or not. I put my makeup and I'm thinking and I'm breathing and I'm finishing the task. Then I finish, I take a deep breaths and I say my mantra and I call it and I call my life and I say it's happening and it just helps me. And this is always before, because I have a year and a half baby. And so I do this every time before she even wakes up. And then one more thing I think I would say is I create like a health map. 3 people that you can reach this month, meaning help this month, because always having a purpose is always very important. 3 people that can mentor you and 3 people that you can ask for help. And if a problem ever comes up, I would say, am I rebuilding? Will this help my mission with how can I solve this problem without creating another one? If you don't get the answer at that moment, again, take a deep breath and come back to it. It will get to it, because usually the problems are created by what? Lack of control. And stress is created by lack of control. The most important thing that I would say I want you to remember, and I am sorry if I'm going, it's my first time doing this, and I'm actually doing it in my daughter's room. It's where I had got the space, where I got the, the sound, and I can have that little moment to get to you guys. The one thing that I want you to take away from all of this is that you are not behind. If you're starting over, you're rebuilding your life. If you just got divorced, if you are going through the motions of, you had a loss in your family, you had a loss of job, you had to change a job, you're moving in with somebody, you're moving out, you're going through a big change. I want you to understand, and this is the way I see it, and it will work for you, that you are not down, you are not back, you're not stuck. You're just simmering because you're about to rebuild your life. Progress is not made overnight. Your progress may not be the same as your sisters, your brothers, your uncles, your cousin, your aunt, your uncle, your neighbor, because nobody is like you. You're very unique, okay? Your progress cannot be compared to everybody else's because your childhood was not the same. Your situation was not the same. The things that you experienced were not the same. So your timeline will be different. The only thing you need to do to start over, to rebuild, to move out of the area or the season that you are in is to understand that everything, the emotions are temporary and that you will get out of it. You just need determination and faith. And how you get that is surrounding yourselves with people that have that determination and that faith. Because if you are in a circle where people are always pessimists, they don't have goals, and they don't actually have a mantra or goals, then you're gonna be. I'm not saying stop being friends with them, but I'm saying seek mentors. You know, and that's basically my advice. That's has what has worked for me. I've always taken of other entrepreneurs, women in particular that own their businesses. I admire them all. I seriously look for them for mentorship, like Andrea, like Donna with Covering the Cape. Shout out to her. Any woman that has that really has encouraged me, and I encourage you to do the same. Now, if this episode has helped you in any way, feel free to go ahead and share it, like it, and send me a message if you want to be part of the show. This show is for everybody that wants to share the story, to encourage, to talk about the ups and downs of a business or the general life. I would really like to push for everybody to be their best selves. For the next episode, I am bringing my husband Giovanni to talk about starting over together, starting over by himself, the conversations that we had in the past, how to set boundaries, and how we keep a shared vision. Thank you for sharing this little piece of my life with me with my cup of coffee. And remember, you are not behind. You are just rebuilding your life. I am Esther, and this is Café Entre Amigos. See you next time.